Trainers, welcome back to the Pokemon UK National Championships 2016. Once again, I'm Jay Blake, and I'm joined by the fantastic Marcus Datter.
Thanks.
So, yeah, I guess second top 8 match right now.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be the two remaining Spanish competitors here in this competition, and yeah, it'll be a good one for sure.
Yeah, so we're going to actually show the match between Eric Rios and also Alejandro Gomez. So both players appearing on stream yesterday. What do you think about this matchup, Marcus?
We've seen this matchup being played by Alejandro yesterday, where he was able to overcome the Kyogre and Rayquaza combination piloted by Lee Provost. And yeah, he showed that he knows what he has to do in that matchup. Now, Eric's approach to the Rayquaza Kyogre team is a little bit different, but I'm sure like both players know each other. They were both in the seniors division back in the years 2014, 2013, and yeah, both had success there. Both of them top cut worlds in seniors, and now they are showing up in Masters, and they're just doing so fantastically well. And only one of them can move on into the top 4 of UK Nationals.
But let's have a look at the team previews now. So on your stream, on your screen, you're going to see Alex's team, which is that Salamence, Cresselia, Groudon, Kangaskhan, Thundurus, and Kyogre. And for Eric, he has the Weavile, Rayquaza, Kyogre, Thundurus, Aegislash, and Amoonguss.
Yeah, Alejandro's team, just once again the dual primals, really standard approach. He does not have the Amoonguss that a lot of players have favored to use, but instead he does have that Kangaskhan. Now, Alejandro was one of the first players to actually use that dual primal archetype back in a regional in the UK as well.
Yep.
So yeah, back then he tried to use Smeargle and Bronzong to set up Trick Room and Gravity for his primals, but now his team approach is a little bit more flexible as he has multiple speed control options with that Thundurus. I would have expected to have Thunder Wave. Cresselia, of course, also Trick Room, Thunder Wave, and Icy Winter options. And yeah, let's see what his mode against that Rayquaza Kyogre team is going for here. But Eric leading things off with Amoonguss and Kyogre, and I'm not sure if you saw that game, but we had a similar thing happening in the game that was broadcasted with Eric.
Yeah, so we have Eric Rios again, as Marcus just said, with Amoonguss and the Primal Kyogre on his side of the field, and Alex is deciding to lead off with that Salamence, but he's put in a lot of work in over the tournament on stream yesterday, and his own Primal Kyogre.
How good is your Spanish, by the way?
I'm just going to say not very good. So we may have to slightly delay and watch for animations.
Yeah, we'll figure things out, though. So basically what happened in that game where Eric was up against that Choice Scarf Dialga, he managed to just get his Kyogre next to his Amoonguss and Rage Powder a Water Spout, and his opponent couldn't do much. Now, of course, Alejandro does have that Groudon, so he can always switch on the Groudon to block the Water-type attacks, but there the mind games begins, because, of course, Eric probably, most likely, has his Rayquaza in the back with that airlock ability.
And we've seen a lot of trainers try to drop in that Rayquaza on the switch in and get off a big Water Spout or Origin Pulse or Scald to make Groudon's life a bit more difficult. Yeah,
having Salamence out here for Alejandro is a really good thing, I would say. It threatens away that Amoonguss. It can do a lot of damage to that Kyogre, though if I remember correctly, we were not able to identify that item from that Amoonguss, and just in the previous set we saw that Cobra Berry, so maybe that is something that Eric could have on his team, and that would make Amoonguss survive that flying type attack. And
there it is,
as we're seeing it
straight back out.
There it is, double edge.
Double edge from Salamence going onto the Amoonguss, and it's not doing that much damage, reduced by the Cobra Berry. And the Ice Beam coming out from the Primal Kyogre on Eric's side of the field, going to knock out that Salamence, removing it from the field, getting rid of Alejandro's Mega Evolution.
Now let's see if Alejandro was aware of that existence of the Cobra Berry. He probably was. I mean, we don't exactly know his moveset, but he went for the Water Spout to make sure that that Amoonguss will definitely go down and no Spore is coming out here. So it removes a redirection option from Eric's side of the field, but also gets rid of that Spore. No one wants to be put to sleep, especially if you get the full max 3-turn sleep. Yeah, so from Eric's side, you trade a non-Mega Pokemon against a Mega Pokemon. So you can kind of be happy about that, I guess. And once again, he brought the Weavile in the back. I think I really like that adjustment, especially right now, since we do see the Cresselia coming out from Alejandro. Now, usually, I mentioned this yesterday, Weavile is something you bring in front, you have the Fake Out option, but Eric really likes to switch things up there. With the Amoonguss, you just Rage Powder until it faints, and then Weavile comes in and you have like the Fake Out option to support your Kyogre.
The fake out ultimate support Kyogre is also exceptionally fast, and also with a knockoff onto the Cresselia, it's going to take a massive amount of damage, possibly even knock it out, depending on how the Weavile is trained or what item it holds. So Eric's actually got a really good position here.
Yeah, definitely. But Alejandro, on the other hand, does have that Cresselia, and depending on how it's trained, it might be able to have that speed control available to him, and he does make the switch into Groudon. And now the question is, will we see a Rayquaza? Probably not, since that Weavile stayed in there.
So the Primal Groudon has entered the field. It's going to remove the rain from Eric's side of the field, meaning that any water-type attack coming out from Kyogre will be nullified. So we have the knockoff coming off from Eric's Weavile.
It looks like a mental herb there.
Yep. So it looks like the mental herb has left the field, and the water-type attack has been prevented by the sun. And there was a miss from the Icy Wind there.
Yeah, did not quite connect with that Kyogre. He really would have liked to get that speed control on the Kyogre to make sure his Groudon will be able to outspeed the next turn. And then, he could be, depending on how fast his Groudon is, it could outspeed this Weavile, but then again, Weavile is also pretty fast, so you would need to train your Groudon a lot in speed, and on those dual primal teams that also have potentially a Trick Room option. We don't see that too often, but we will soon figure that out.
It depends on what Eric values more. Maybe getting a knockout onto his Cresselia, leaving his Weavile in, or he could bring in that Rayquaza to get the water-type attacks back and take out the Groudon.
Yeah,
but it depends on how Alejandro protects his Groudon, or whether he chooses to risk it and go for an attack.
Yeah, the thing is now Eric would probably want to switch his Kyogre out into the Rayquaza just to be able to set up the rain for later on, maybe. But if Groudon outspeed that Weavile, okay, actually he decides to switch the Weavile out. Okay.
There goes the Rayquaza. He's looking to really press against this Primal Groudon. So will it protect itself? Yes, it will. So Alejandro reading that play there, and we're going to see the Water Spout coming out from the...
but is it enough? And it does knock out that Cresselia. Okay, so... that is definitely what Eric wanted to see here. In the end, it was a safe play, depending on how fast his Kyogre is, I guess. Not too much Alejandro could have done there, but now he has to bring out his own Kyogre, and now
Groudon is in a terrible position.
Look at this field, though.
Yeah, this is pretty powerful. This is the VGC 16 match right here.
This is the matchup that they're playing.
Well, this is UK Nats on the field right now.
That's true. We've seen so many Kyogre really rainy, despite the fact that the weather in Liverpool, actually, despite what everybody says, was quite nice.
You know what? British summertime has arrived. I mean, we thought it was over after the 2-day heat wave we had and then the week of rain, but we're back in business. But it's rain on the field currently with that Kyogre putting a lot of pressure for Eric against the Primal Groudon on Alejandro's side of the field.
Yeah, and also he still has that Weavile in the back, so for example, even if he loses a Pokemon and Alejandro has to protect, for example, to make that happen. He has the option to fake out. Potentially, even he even has the feint. So with that disruption mode, he can take down a lot of damage. But depending on how all of those Pokemon are trained, the only thing that is actually probably in danger of being knocked out is that Groudon.
So here comes the Mega Rayquaza. It's going to Mega Evolve and release the Delta Stream ability, and the double protect coming out from the Groudon is not going to work. We have the Dragon Ascent coming out from the Rayquaza, which is going to do huge damage to that Primal Kyogre, taking it well over 2/3 of its health. And you can imagine that the Kyogre is just going to pair down against this Groudon now.
Water Spout coming out though.
There we go.
Yep, there it goes.
There it is.
So that should be the first game for Eric.
Quite a commanding position.
Yeah, I mean, just the first turn he was able to take out that Salamence trade for the Amoonguss. It's like a good trade, I would say, from his perspective, because Salamence is one of the Pokemon that trainers...
That's a critical hit.
Yeah, that trainers have valued pretty highly in terms of dealing with Rayquaza and Kyogre, because, naturally, of course, Salamence is 4-time weak to Ice-type attacks, but you have the Double Edge available to you, which does a decent amount of damage to Kyogre. You're able to outspeed the Rayquaza, intimidate it, and then also just with Hyper Voice chip things away. But it didn't really work out for him here. He lost his Salamence just in the first turn, and after that Alejandro, with his Cresselia, couldn't do much. So, first game, victory to Eric.
Yeah, victory to Eric, and Alejandro choosing not to forfeit there, trying to get as much information on the damage potential that the Rayquaza has against his Primal Kyogre, maybe possibly looking to see if Eric will give up another move, maybe like an extreme speed or something.
If you can figure out the item, for example.
Exactly.
Always valuable information, though. They know each other, so they probably also worked onto their teams together. I don't know, but if they are making plays that we don't understand, maybe they have more information available to them. I mean, it's been a long tournament.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I'm sure they have a little bit of information on each other's teams, and obviously they know each other's playstyles a bit more. But if you're Alejandro at this point, how do you come back? How do you adjust for the second game?
Well, he was able to go undefeated in the Swiss rounds, and he fought his way all the way here in the top 8. So like, he's a fantastic player. Also, like, he has a lot of experience despite being that young. He played in a lot of big tournaments, nationals, world championships, regional championships. So I'm sure that he has some kind of plan here against this. I do think that Cresselia might probably be the key for him. Also, maybe bringing Kangaskhan could work here in this matchup. But it's really tough, because I do think that sometimes when people are building their tool primal teams, they might have neglected to make sure that their matchup against Rayquaza Kyogre teams are like really good, because people were not really expecting to see those Rayquaza Kyogre teams. And also we didn't see like a huge amount in Top Cut, but Eric, being one of the best players in Europe, I would say, was able to pilot it all the way here in the top 8, and now Alejandro has to deal with it. So yeah, I would say maybe we could see Kangaskhan and Cresselia do something, but he just tries to go over the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lead that Alejandro has used a lot in this tournament, so he's obviously very comfortable with it. And the same lead coming out from Eric Rios as well. So I wonder if we'll be seeing the same sort of attacks going off this turn. Let's hope not for Alejandro.
Yeah, I do think that he definitely will have to try. He would have to try something differently. If he predicts the Rage Powder coming out, he could try to protect his Salamence and go for an Ice-type attack on the Amoonguss. Early in the tournament, we've also seen Substitute being a thing on his Salamence.
Yep.
So maybe if he predicts the Kyogre to protect itself, then he could set up a Substitute for free, since that blocks Spore.
Yeah, protecting himself.
That would be really nice. But Eric showing that he values the HP on his Kyogre like way more than the life of his Amoonguss. Decided to go for that Rage Powder, even though he was probably aware of the fact that Alejandro can just take it out. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just went for the same thing now.
Yeah, so you were talking earlier about possibly bringing the Cresselia in the front with the Kangaskhan, which obviously, because Eric has been leading his Weavile in the middle of his pack,
yes,
it would be a nice lead to make the most of that Weavile not being in the lead before.
Yes, exactly, but also then again, you never know if he's going to switch things up and lead with the Weavile, depending on what he predicts Alejandro to do.
Well, especially if they've been playing each other beforehand, then he might know that this is the way it happens, and this is what you got to try and do to try and get back into these matches, especially if you're behind.
And there's the Rage Powder, just as we expected.
And here comes a double edge. Same play.
Yeah, if he went for the Substitute and the Water Spout here, I think he would be in a fantastic position. Or something like that, but and we do see the effect Spore being the ability here on Eric's Amoonguss, but I would expect Ice Beam coming out there.
There you go.
There it is.
So exactly the same as before. Salamence is not going to be able to make it past this first turn.
Yeah, so maybe Alejandro feels like, if I hit that Icy Wind, maybe I'm in a better position, so he just wants to play the same line down to the point and hope that his Icy Wind connects this time.
Yep. So Amoonguss going down again. His job is done. Redirecting the double edge from the Mega Salamence there, and the Mega Evolution on the Alejandro side of the field.
Thunder is coming out.
That's a new one.
So yeah, he switched things up a bit. But that Weavile, that's the thing. Like, if you bring Salamence and Thundurus, that Weavile is really a strong pick against this. We've seen it at earlier points in this tournament, but like, if you have Thundurus, Cresselia, and Salamence on your team, Weavile can really mess with that.
Yeah, so I mean, also, as you say, with the Cresselia and the Thundurus, and also to some points with the Kangaskhan, you can obviously fake out faster than it.
Yeah, there's low kick. There were rumors of a choice banned low kick Weavile running around, so
really?
you can never be sure. Yeah.
This is the thing about UK Nationals. People are obviously putting things out on the line. They want to try new things and try and get advantages against players that they wouldn't usually have. Choice Scarf Dialga.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of crazy stuff. But now back to this match. I also like the fact that Eric kind of find his own way to play this Rayquaza Kyogre team. Whereas like with dual primals, there like a lot of people are using similar stuff, but I don't think I've seen a team similar to Eric's in quite some time.
So we've got the Thunderous using Protect there to stop itself from being faked out. The fake out is coming out onto Alejandro's Primal Kyogre, and an Ice Beam going from the Primal Kyogre on Eric's side of the field into the Protect from Thunderous.
Okay, so yeah, he called the Protect correctly and got off that fake out, but yeah, not too much damage was exchanged. Now Alejandro was able to kind of maneuver out of the position where the fake out was too threatening, but his Kyogre, there was no need to protect it, since Feint is also a possibility on Weavile, so yeah, he could just make a safe play by attacking with his Kyogre, and even seeing that Eric went for that fake out, he doesn't lose too much board position from that. But now he has to come up with a plan.
Deal with a big Icicle Crash.
Thunder Waving something.
Yeah.
But Weavile is actually withdrawing, so he probably expects the Thunderous to go into the Groudon to yeah, keep that alive, but
no, so there's the Thunder Wave going onto the Rayquaza, which is not a good switch in for Eric. He really wants that speed advantage with his Rayquaza, and the Scald coming out from his Kyogre going directly onto that Thunderous, which does a fair amount of damage and is going to crock the Citrus Berry as well, so Thunderous will heal a bit of health back.
Yeah, but Eric, after having won the first game, like, he's showing Alejandro that he always has to watch out for that play. Like, he didn't do it in the first game, or he didn't attempt it, but now he switched in the Rayquaza, went for the Water type attack, and even though it didn't work, now Alejandro has to like be very careful. I mean, he always has to be very careful, but yeah, gotta respect that play.
So the Water Spout just came out from the Primal Kyogre on Alejandro's side of the field, doing some nice damage to Kyogre and putting Rayquaza about 2/3 HP left.
So now Weavile is coming back in. We might see a Protect coming out from the Rayquaza, depending on how he wants to play this, but yeah.
And there's a Paralysis as well. So we've got the Thunderbolt coming out onto the Weavile, which is a very safe play, either hitting the Primal Kyogre or hitting the switch-in Pokemon.
Yeah.
And there's the Ice Beam onto Rayquaza.
We'll pick up the KO here, and that is probably the game, since Alejandro has ground in the back, and without the Rayquaza, a little bit tough to hit it in the sun.
Yeah. So really, the momentum swung back in Alex's favor off that switch, hitting the Thunderbolt, hitting the Thunder Wave, and then the Paralysis, allowing him just to knock out another of the restricted Pokemon.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Eric knew about the risk that this play included. Like, if it works, really great. You will probably win the set and move on to the semifinals. It doesn't work, okay, so you can go to a game 3, reevaluate the adjustments of your opponent. Now, he knows that he brought Thunderous, so okay, maybe he will do it in the third game as well. Yeah,
a double Protect coming out from Alex's side of the field, doesn't want to deal with that fake out. So he, just a very, very neutral turn there.
Yeah, like the only option Eric has is to go for, I don't know, Icicle Crash flinches and Ice Beam freezes, but even then.
And here comes the Thunder Wave coming out from Thunderous, going onto that Weavile. Will it be able to move through the Paralysis and get a big Icicle Crash onto the Thunderous? Oh, no, it doesn't. There it is. And also going onto the Kyogre. Okay, and that doesn't do that much damage at all. Not very effective. And the Life Orb recoil coming onto the Weavile. Ice Beam coming out from the Primal Kyogre going onto the Thunderous, which will knock it out.
So yeah, he is really going for that flinch here, but Kyogre will be able to get off that Water Spout, and yeah, gotta respect that. Eric trying his best to potentially capitalize on a mistake Alejandro could make, but of course Alejandro, being the player that he is, doesn't do that many mistakes.
And Eric, being the player that he is, has to try.
Yeah, of course. That's
it's not over till it's over.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do. So once again, we have those two Kyogre staring down each other, but now Groudon will join the party, and then this game should be over. So, third game. Now the question is, what do the players do? That's always like a really tough one. So the Thunder is really working well for Alejandro, and maybe Eric could try about changing up his plan a little bit by leading with that Weavile, even though the plan with Amoonguss kind of worked in the first game. In the second game, we saw that now when Alejandro was able to put himself into the position that he was more comfortable with, even though the first turn didn't exactly go that well, neither the first turn in both games, I think that favored Eric a little bit. But if he had Weavile, he threatens Salamence right from the beginning, and then he can play some more plays like fake out the Kyogre, predict something. But if you have Amoonguss, you don't really have that option, since you're always at the threat of just being KO'd by Double Edge and Water Spout. So having something that outspeeds your opponent Pokemon gives you a little bit more to work with, so to speak.
So there we have Alejandro picking up the second of our top 8 matches. We've got 1 win for Alex, 1 win for Eric, and now we've got to see how Eric will adjust. He obviously brought the same 4 Pokemon that as he did in the first match, went with exactly the same game plan that he wanted to do. Is it now time for him to switch up?
Yeah, I don't think that Aegislash would be the Pokemon to bring here in this dual primal matchup, though potentially a Wide Guard could be something to block his opponent's spread type attacks. Like also the Hyper Voice from Salamence, the Water Spout, as well as the Precipice Plates from the Primals. So that could be something he could look into, but so far it didn't look like he wanted to bring the Aegislash in this matchup. Maybe it's more specifically there for matchups that include Xerneas. The other Pokemon he did not bring to either of these battles is his own Thundurus, and I don't know, depending on what type of moves he chooses there, that could also be something that could help him, like
if he has
Thunder
a taunt
Waves
or something.
Yeah. But I don't know, like it's one of those matchups where I think both players would really like to bring like 5 or maybe even 6 Pokemon to the battle. I mean, Alejandro has 2 Megas, so maybe not, but each of them has their values depending on how the players pick their Pokemon in preview and what is going to lead. Yeah, but it will be an exciting match either way, and maybe Alejandro will switch things up finally, but I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw Salamence and Kyogre again.
So we just see the handshake coming out from Eric and Alejandro, a lot of camaraderie going on there. So the teams, once again, for Eric's side of the field, we have Weavile, Rayquaza, Kyogre, Thundurus, Aegislash, and Moongus, and he chooses to lead with Thundurus and Rayquaza, which is new for him. And Alex choosing to lead off with that Kyogre and Salamence we saw before, but his other Pokemon are Cresselia, Groudon, Kangaskhan, and Thundurus.
Yeah, so Eric's like, okay, I got enough of this. We did it twice now. I mean, what is going to happen the third time? You never know. Is your opponent going to do the same play 3 times in a row? I don't know. It's just like mind games.
Yes.
Yeah, and he feels like it's a little bit unnecessary for him to go for that mind game, but instead just lead off with a Thundurus that has a decent matchup against both the Kyogre and the Salamence from his opponent. And he also brings out the Rayquaza, so he has like more damage potential. He probably expected something else besides the Salamence, since Rayquaza doesn't exactly have the best matchup there. Yep. But depending on what item it has, for example, if it has the Focus Sash, since I believe we saw the Life Orb on the Weavile, he could have something like a Draco Meteor to just pick up a quick KO on the Salamence, or just still go for the Dragon Ascent, despite the fact that he was intimidated by the Salamence.
I mean, it was still, even if with the Intimidate dropping his attack, it still does a big chunk to most Pokemon, so might be the best way to go. But he's actually going to protect his Rayquaza here, not choosing to Mega Evolve to keep the Airlock ability,
and
which
Alejandro is going for the read here. Yep. Predicts his opponent to protect Thunder Wave or Thunderbolt into that Kyogre, but he kind of makes the obvious play, so to say, since Salamence is obviously the one Pokemon that would be outspeeding Rayquaza without the paralysis. So yeah, he probably expected something like a Thunderbolt and Dragon Ascent maybe, predicting Alejandro to go for the Protect. But yeah, that did not happen, and now Eric must feel very great about this first turn.
And especially putting the paralysis onto the Mega Salamence, dropping its speed. Now Rayquaza will outspeed it should it choose to Mega Evolve, or should it choose to stay in its base form.
Yeah, now Eric basically can decide, okay, do I want to go after the Kyogre with, say, Dragon Ascent and Thunderbolt, or do I want to knock out the Salamence? And now he's definitely in the driver's seat here, whereas Alejandro has to think about a way to come out of this push decision to get in a position where he can actually deal damage. Though Eric, thinking a step ahead probably, brings his own Kyogre into position, since once you have gathered a lot of momentum, you have to try and figure out, okay, can I immediately convert it into something significant, or will my opponent have a way to maneuver out of there? And I do think that a switch from Alejandro into Groudon could have been something.
Yep, it was
so maybe he was going for that, but nope, that does not happen, and instead we will see this Dragon Ascent.
Yeah, Dragon Ascent, and still intimidated, still does about 1/3 of the damage, and an Ice Beam coming out, going onto that Kyogre, doing very little damage, and here comes the Hyper Voice from Salamence, and that's going to do some big damage to Rayquaza, and put Kyogre around 2/3 HP left.
Yeah, so with that Kyogre switch, not only was he bringing himself into like an offensive position, but it was also like a defensive synergizing switch. Switching into that Ice Beam there, basically making it so that the opponent's Kyogre didn't do any damage at all. I do think he got away with this a little bit easy, so to say, since his Rayquaza could have gone down very easily if had his opponent decided to go for, say, Ice Beam and Hyper Voice.
And we've seen how important it is to the matchup. He's obviously wanting to bring it as a switch in, so maybe he might want to either protect it or bring it back into his party now to make sure that he's got that airlock ability for later in the game.
Yeah, so he probably did not expect Alejandro to just go for 2 attacks with his Pokemon, but instead he thought maybe like something like a protect and a switch was coming. I also thought so, but Alejandro adapting to that immediately and making a good play.
And then the paralysis on Salamence really inhibiting its speed, and Ice Beam from Primal Kyogre knocking it out, and a Water Spout coming out from the Kyogre on Alejandro's side of the field, putting Eric's Kyogre just a little bit below half HP.
Yeah, but now Alejandro has the option to go into his own Thundurus, and now that is threatening the Thunderbolts and Thunder Waves. And depending on how it is trained, it can also just outspeed the Rayquaza right away, since it did not Mega Evolve. And an important thing to note whenever you're playing with a Rayquaza Kyogre team, you have to wait for the right moment to Mega Evolve your Rayquaza. Since if you Mega Evolve and then the opponent switches in their ground, then you can't
just lose a Delta Stream.
You can't touch them. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so now it's a bit of a mind game for Eric. How does he protect his Rayquaza, or does he just give it up?
Yeah, I think he probably has to switch out, but of course Alejandro also knows this, so he can capitalize on that by going for, say, a Thunder Wave or something. But instead he just goes for the Mega Evolution.
Yep, going all in, getting that Mega Evolution. Rayquaza's going to swish its way around the air. And the Delta Stream is coming out, just as we said. So if Alex wanted to bring in his Groudon, it would remove that Delta Stream ability. And Kyogre is going to protect on Eric's side of the field. And you can imagine, there's another protect coming out from the Kyogre from Alex's side of the field. So what is Rayquaza and Thundurus going to do?
We do see the Dragon Ascent going into the protect. And the Thunderbolt also... No, it actually hits Rayquaza.
Yeah, it's Rayquaza's, and there we go. So that really important legendary...
yeah, with that special defense drop it got earlier from the Dragon Ascent, despite Mega Evolving and getting increased stats, it will still go down, and that could be the end of Eric Rios' defense against his opponent's Groudon.
We've been talking about it all weekend, about defending your resources, and Mega Rayquaza is a resource in both its base form and its Mega Evolution form. You've got that airlock ability, which allows him to be able to deal with these really popular Groudon, but also the increased stat potential for Mega Rayquaza is really, really important, and now he's in a bit of a sticky situation.
Yeah, now of course Eric is definitely not out of this yet. He still has 3 Pokemon left, and one of them is Weavile. And so with Icicle Crash, he can get some flinches, he can potentially one-shot this Thundurus, he has Fake Out up his sleeve, so yeah, he's not out of this yet, but I do definitely think that this was a huge pickup by Alejandro.
Yeah, so Weavile coming in, applying that Fake Out pressure, but also the Feint, so maybe he wants to target down that Thundurus and feint it and use an Ice Beam to try and remove it early from the field, but there's lots of different options that Weavile has at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to figure out if Eric has like another trick, or if he's just hoping once again, like in the last game, that his opponent just slips up maybe a little bit and makes a mistake. But yeah, we will see if Alejandro feels like he's in such a commanding lead position that he will just once again go for that double protect play to make sure he's not hit by the Fake Out.
There's a Fake Out coming out from the Weavile onto the Primal Kyogre. The Primal Kyogre on Eric's side of the field has retreated for Thundurus, and Thundurus on Alex's side of the field is going to launch a Thunderbolt, crocking the Citrus Berry, which is going to push it just back over half HP.
Yeah, so now Eric didn't do a whole lot of damage with that Fake Out, but he tried to switch himself into a better position, probably was hoping for the Thundurus to protect there, fearing a combination of, say, Fake Out plus Ice Beam, for example, to get the pickup there. But yeah, Weavile is probably like the only thing that keeps him in this game, but also he does have the Thunder Wave available to him, as well as Thunderbolt, so depending on how they are trained, Thunderbolt probably not going to be enough to pick up the KO on that Kyogre. So
but he can make his life difficult with Thunder Wave.
Yes, definitely.
And if Alex has the Groudon in the back, then it would be an easy switch in for him to make into that Kyogre slot to stop him from getting the Thunder Wave off or the Thunderbolt.
Yeah, but he doesn't go for that, so there is an opportunity here, or there is an opportunity here for Eric to still come back into this game. His Thunderbolt is enough to get a KO, but
no,
it does not.
Very critical survive there from Eric's side, from Alex's side of the field, and the Ice Beam in return knocks out the Thundurus.
He was sure that would have KO'd, or else I'm pretty sure he would have tried to double up into that slot.
Wow.
But
that
of
was
course,
huge.
yeah, there was also the potential of a Protect coming out from that Kyogre, but now Alejandro knows that he has the weather advantage. He gets very excited there, and Eric, you can kind of see it on his face a little bit.
Really disappointed that the Kyogre managed to survive that
so
turn.
close. But it was such a good series up to this point, and I mean, still Eric has a shot at coming back here. There is Icicle Crash, that can flinch.
But
He
unless
has a
he's
potential,
paralyzed.
yeah, he's a potential to knock out both his opponent's Pokemon this turn.
Here goes the Icicle Crash. So Icicle Crash coming out from the Weavile, going to hit that Thunderous with a flinch chance, but also with the super effective damage. There we go. It's a big knockout. So Thunderous is going to leave the field, and it's down to the two Kyogre to see what's going to happen next. An Ice Beam coming out from Eric's side of the field is going to do enough damage to knock out the Kyogre. And yeah,
yes, so he actually was able to get both the knockouts that I was talking about.
Yep.
But now, of course, he has to start on the ground. And now, looking at the clock of the timer, we're not in critical time, I would say, but maybe seeing the situation where he's up in Pokemon but down in board position, Eric probably would have hoped, like, maybe if I can play it around a little bit more slowly, but a little bit more strategical, he could have drawn out the game a little bit longer. But now, as it seems, despite the fact that he's up in Pokemon, it will be very tough to take out that Groudon.
Especially with the Desolate Land ability becoming active on the Groudon on Alejandro's side of the field. We're going to dry up the Water-type attacks from Primal Kyogre, really putting some... making some difficult choices for Eric should he get the paralysis from his Weavile, and an Ice Beam coming out from Primal Kyogre. It's gonna do about a third of the damage to Groudon, and
Precipice Blades hit both targets, and
the handshake there. That's it.
Wow, what a well-calculated endgame. Alejandro knew that he just needed to take out the Rayquaza, and then his Groudon would be in such a good position that he could take the game. He went for the Thunder Wave on the Weavile, even though he could have probably tried to play out there a little bit differently, but he knew if he makes sure that Weavile cannot flinch him with Icicle Crash, he should be in the commanding position, and then, yeah, he just needed to hit the Precipice Blades in the end.
I mean, we were talking about it a couple of times where we were like, okay, he could bring the Groudon in here, he could bring the Groudon in here, he could bring the Groudon in here, and he didn't. He chose not to, and he chose to keep the Groudon in the back, make sure that he can manage the board on Eric's side of the field, make sure that nothing can really happen to threaten that Groudon, and just sweep with Precipice Blades.
Yes, congratulations to him. Once again, he proved that he's one of the best players. I mean,
undefeated in Swiss.
Time and time again. But
now
he's in the top 4, and he will be up on stream for an interview quite shortly, I would guess.
Yeah, so we're going to go get Alejandro now. So we're going to take a very short break, but don't go anywhere because we'll be back with an interview very shortly. Hello trainers and welcome back. I'm Jay Blake and I'm joined by the exceptional Alejandro Gomez, the winner of our second top 8 bracket match. So how are you feeling after that ridiculous match?
That's my feeling.
Yeah. I mean, like for Marcus and I commentating that match, there was just so many different ways that you guys were moving around, and especially from going for exactly the same route from game 1 to game 2 until you revealed that Thunderous. How do you feel about making the change between the Cresselia with the Icy Wind going for the more accurate Thunder Wave on the Thunderous?
Yeah, I mean, I did want to bring Thunderous since it will be way more safe. I think since, for example, with Cresselia, I actually need to hit the Icy Winds, and otherwise with Thunderous, I just need to click Thunder Wave.
Yeah, exactly.
And I should be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, how did you feel looking down at that Amoonguss with the flying type reducing berry? Did you really want to get rid of it from the field?
Yeah,
obviously
definitely.
you made the same plays each time, so.
Well, actually not. Since in game 2, he went for Rage Powder.
Yep.
And I thought he might protect, so I went for the double edging to Kyogre.
Oh, okay. And so it just played out exactly the same.
Yeah.
But, oh, wow, okay. So, yeah. So you kind of just made the read, but he made it for you. He made it easy for you, and he just played out in that same way. So another thing that Marcus and I were picking up on was that towards the end of that third match, Groudon just stayed in the back. There are like 3 or 4 chances where Groudon could have come in to take either a Thunder Wave or a Thunderbolt on the Kyogre slot, but you just sat pretty, thinking about maybe controlling Eric's side of the field a bit more before bringing that Groudon. How important was it for you to keep that Groudon safe?
I think actually it was my win condition, since once I get rid of the Rayquaza, I should have the game log.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The weather control is in your favor.
Yeah.
And I mean, for Eric, when he brought in that Rayquaza to take the Thunder Wave in that second match, it was kind of difficult for him to recover from that. And yeah, I mean, how do you feel about the Kyogre Rayquaza matchup using double primals?
I thought it was better, but he has got Weavile, And
Yep.
Weavile, actually, it's kind of a pain against double primal. So the matchup actually was pretty rough.
Yeah, and we were surprised that Eric didn't lead with his Weavile at any point. I mean, he's shown on stream yesterday and today that he prefers to keep it in the middle of his pack to apply the fake out pressure later in the game. Were you expecting him to lead with it at any time, or were you just kind of comfortable with the fact that he'd probably stay with it in the middle of his team?
Yeah, I mean, we played yesterday in round 6 or 5, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And he brought Weavile as a lead in the 3 games.
Yeah.
So I thought he was going to lead with Weavile.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, so he's just been switching up his style for the stream.
Yeah.
What a player. So obviously you guys, both being Spanish, have had a lot of experience playing against each other, not just at UK Nats, but around the circuit. Like, was it great to be able to play against him in such a high pressure match?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Pokemon, right? I mean, you get to play it with your friends, you get to make new friends at these sort of events, and also you get to test your mettle against people who eventually become your rivals.
Yeah.
Yeah, so guys, thank you very much to Alejandro Gomez, who moves forward into the semi-finals. We're going to take a quick break now, but don't go anywhere because we'll be back to some great VGC action shortly.